February Park and Recs Board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'd like to approve the minutes from our January meeting. Is there a motion? So moved. Second? Or, okay, approved. Tammy, announcements?
Announcements. The Board of Commissioners meetings will take place on Monday, February 14th and Monday, February 28th here at the Radnor Township Building. The next Parks and Recreation Board will be held here at the Radnor Township Building on Thursday, March 10th. We have a spring chess tournament that'll take place on Sunday, March 20th at Radnor Middle School. For more information on the chess tournament, as well as a number of other winter and spring programs we have available, please check out the program brochure, which is available at our website at www.radnorparksandrecreation.com.
Okay. What part of the agenda do you want to go into next, Tammy? Do you want to do activities report, or do you want to go into new business since we have some folks here?
If you want, we could just briefly go through the activities
Okay,
report,
why don't we do
and
that?
then we'll go into new business. In January, the Parks and Recreation Department kicked off a variety of programs all across different facilities throughout the township. Namely, the Radnor Youth Basketball Program and Griffin Volleyball Program are still up and running, and we're working closely with the area schools. Tonight, since he's here, I want to give a thank you to Bob Michaelis for all the help that he has given us with the program and all the support. It's greatly appreciated on behalf of our department. The annual Hoops from the Heart basketball program and clinic took place on Monday, January 17th at Cabrini College with 59 participants. This annual clinic that is in partnership with the college men's and women's basketball teams generated a portion of the proceeds to the Community Action Agency of Delaware County. We're currently taking registrations for a number of winter and spring programs for 2011, which includes everything from soccer to tennis to birding, spring break camps, golf lessons, theater, cardio core and more, and a variety of other programs. We also have 2 trips that are lined up, one to New York City on Saturday, May 7th, and another to the Philadelphia Phillies game on Friday, July 22nd. We're also in the process of planning our Arbor Day celebration and a new spring event, and working with the Wayne Senior Center on some new ideas as well for new programs and events. All the details, as I had mentioned before, can be found at our website at radnorparksandrecreation.com. Our department has terrific news that we recently received from TD Bank. They approved our sponsorship request for money to support the 2011 Summer Concert Series in the amount of $4,000. I'm currently working to replace the other portion of our funding that we previously have had throughout the years. We recently lost, unfortunately, a portion of that sponsorship, so I am trying to engage some of the local businesses to make up the difference on the money that we're looking to recover for the series. Our department's evaluating the series and going to make some potential changes depending on the funding. Ultimately that will affect how the series will unfold for the summer, so we'll be working on that in the next couple months. I've also been having discussions with the Radnor Conservancy regarding a 5K trail fun run and walk in June that will take place at the Willows in Skunk Hollow. I'm also talking with the MS Society regarding a walk that's going to take place over at the Radnor Corporate Center and Radnor Memorial Park, Radnor Elementary School complex in April. In late January, our department had welcomed a new intern from Penn State University who's working for credit in the Parks and Recreation management field. So we've been working with him in the last couple weeks so that he understands daily operational procedures, department expectations, and we work through different projects that we have for him to complete while he's here. We thank him for his efforts that he has made with our department so far. Department has also been adapting the use of Constant Contact to manage email notifications and e-newsletters. This is an online-based marketing system that will provide the ability to generate professional communications and manage our newsletters more efficiently. I've been working with the Township IT Director, meeting with some local companies to discuss opportunities and details regarding the development of a Township newsletter that would be mailed to all households, businesses, and apartment complexes in Radnor Township. This exciting endeavor will enable us to develop a 24-page professional color newsletter that will include all of the Township departments and will come at no cost to the Township in order to produce and distribute. Ad space will be sold throughout the publication that will cover all of those associated costs. We're also working to finalize the proposal details regarding this newsletter, and our hope is that it will be mailed out to all the residents, as I mentioned before, the apartment complexes and businesses by the middle of May. And if the process does run smoothly, I anticipate that our department will try to engage the company that we end up working with to sort of revive the Parks and Recreation Department brochure, as well as maybe some other publications as we go into 2011 and 2012. For winter recreation enthusiasts, sledding and ice skating are permitted at your own risk in the designated areas of the Township parks. Please park in the respective parking lots and not along the roadways. Please be safe and use good judgment while participating in these forms of recreation. In addition to programming, usage at Radnor Activity Center has also been coordinated. We had 5 rentals that took place in January, in addition to all of the other activities that we have taken place in there. The Willows Mansion hosted 4 events in January, and 2 are scheduled for February. Mary Conahan, who's the current director at the Willows, is here tonight, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the Willows annual report for 2010. I've also been in the process of reviewing a sign replacement plan with members of the Friends of the Willows Cottage for the Willows entrance. Once I have further information and a plan, I will be sure to present it to the Parks and Rec Board so you can give input regarding that project. The $100,000 that we received from DCNR that was being applied at Cowan Park for the Comfort Station is currently going to have its anticipated proposal for the architectural plan for the Cowan Park Comfort Station awarded on Monday night at the February 14th Board of Commissioners meeting. The Agnes Irwin School had submitted the proposal for the turf field to be developed at Radnor Memorial Park, and that proposal has been reviewed by the Board of Commissioners meeting back in late January, and it was approved to begin working on the development of the lease agreement with Agnes Irwin. That concludes my report for January.
Well, thank you, and especially with all the weather and stuff going on, certainly a busy, busy month. Anybody have any questions or comments on Tammy's report? Okay. With that, why don't we introduce Mary Conahan and have her do her Willows report for us? And with that, Mary.
Thank you. In keeping with the mission statement of the Willows Mansion, which is to provide a distinctive facility for the use and enjoyment of Radnor Township residents and community, the Willows held 14 school plus 26 no-charge events, which included parks and recreation programs for the youth of our township, and a sports banquet and a senior luncheon. We held 12 weddings, 5 corporate, and 63 other events, which brought the total amount of bookings for 2010 to 120. 2010 saw the return of the craft show after a noticeable year of absence. It took place during mid-November through early December and attracted well over 3,000 people. We were able to network with various vendors such as caterers, photographers, florists, local hotels, tent companies, disc jockeys, and hosted a successful open house in March. The outcome of this event was confirmed bookings for fall of 2010 and into 2011. I'm happy to report that the following maintenance upgrades were completed in 2010. A section of the roof was repaired, the courtyard steps were pointed, the outdoor electric receptacle box was replaced, as well as a light fixture in the library. All windows were washed and touch-up painting to the walls and doors was completed. Looking to the future, there are some projects that need to be addressed. Major repairs are necessary to the main roof of the mansion. Continuing leaks have caused some significant interior damage, which is also in need of repair. Other improvements necessary include resealing of the courtyard, garden and park area upgrades, including the addition of new plantings and flowers, along with exterior and interior lighting upgrades. To keep project costs down on some of the upgrades, we could contact community service organizations and garden clubs who may be willing to donate their time and skills. Remodeling of the restroom facilities, in addition to plumbing and electrical repairs, is necessary within the facility. Although the website willowsmansion.com has certainly been helpful in the marketing and promotion of the Willows, we strongly believe that an advertising budget is necessary in order to compete with other venues, especially within the wedding market. The majority of other facilities in this and surrounding areas do advertise on local media outlets, and their feedback is positive. It does create interest and business for them. The placement of a seasonal tent on the property would be of great benefit, as it could accommodate prospective clients who prefer to have their guests seated in one common area while being surrounded by a magnificent setting. This concludes my report.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or questions for Mary? Tammy, anything that you want to add to?
Well, I just wanted to, I just wanted to give an update. As you all are probably aware, we've been looking to alternative avenues on how we wish to operate the Willows in the future. As of right now, there have been discussions with some various groups. As you remember, we had Open Air Affairs here at our last meeting, who gave a presentation to basically talk a little bit about ways that we could enhance by using their services, enhance the Willows, enhance the operations. I have continued to have discussions and look to formal proposal with Open Air Affairs, as well as continue to engage some interest groups and community groups within Radnor who have interest in taking over the Willows essentially as a facility in terms of adapting their operation, as well as looking to potentially extend the operation that we currently have, and also take on some of the much-needed maintenance and improvements that need to take place at the facility. I think that I would hope in the next couple months we could come to the board, come to the Parks Board with a more formal proposal from some of these groups that you can hear in more detail and comment on. And that's the plan that we're looking towards very soon.
I think some of the other groups that are potentially looking at the Willows as a possibility of our mainline school night. I think Wayne Arts Center and possibly the Friends of the Willows Cottage.
Yes.
Did Ray or Bill, did either of you do a assessment of some of the things that needs to be done at the Willows, and is that something that you guys might be able to shed a little light on with some of the repairs that are needed?
Yes, we did do an assessment on it from a code review standpoint. Be honest with you, it's not what we're here for tonight. We
Okay.
don't have any information.
No problem. Just any thoughts or comments from anyone on the board?
Mary, are we accepting reservations for new events for 2012 at this point?
No, we are not.
And generally, I would think that we're starting to see, we'll see a decline, because I would imagine things like weddings will tend to get into a scheduling of 6 to 9 months out. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment, yes.
And would weddings be a large, of the various revenue sources that you have for the Willows, is weddings a considerable revenue source?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Because they usually occur at the weekend, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Thank you.
It's also important to point out that there may be a bit of a difference from if we compare 2010 to what the 2011 operation is going to look like in terms of revenue. I think that, you know, word has spread around. I know I've heard it around town, being in Wayne, that people hear the rumor that, you know, the Willows is closed. So I think that that's something that we've actually been hearing a lot. I think Mary's been hearing a lot of it, and it sounds like, you know, word is getting out that it is a venue that's not available. So I think that, you know, when we look to compare 2011 to 2010, if we ultimately, you know, do that, there's going to be a significant difference.
Okay.
Looking at the page here that says total annual events 1997 to 2010. In 1998, we did 160 events. Do we have any idea why that number's so high? What was special about that year, or were we just lucky, or, but it seems significantly higher than the rest? Were we doing anything different from a marketing standpoint or anything?
No, not from a marketing standpoint, because we never did have a marketing budget. And now we have the website, which has been really helpful. I think it was just a very good year.
Okay.
Very lucky.
There were no significant changes to staffing during that year, other than we did hire a new Parks and Recreation director in that year, so I don't know if maybe potentially that had an impact. I wasn't here then, but I'm not aware of any significant reasons why that would exist. At that time, we didn't offer direct programs like camps and things like that. So we would have to go back and take a look at the records and see exactly what those events consisted of. It could have been that we had maybe more auctions or fairs of things of that nature, because when we report the events, the event quantities are reflective of the days. So if we have an event that takes place over the course of, you know, 5 days, we chart it as 5 events.
Okay.
And we did have the spring craft show as well as the fall craft show.
Question.
Which,
On the last page, upgrades that were completed in 2010 include the roof repaired, and in the last paragraph, it said major repairs are necessary to the main roof of the mansion.
yes,
So,
Sure.
can you help me?
yes, there's a flat section of the roof that was repaired because of it leaking. Doing some major damage on the inside. So that was taken care of. And the main roof does need some attention, more because we have some loose tiles up there. And they're a heavy tile from the fall down.
I think what we tried to address in 2010 was sort of a portion of the problem and Band-Aid it, and maybe we didn't necessarily repair the whole roof. So I think there's still significant need for repair on the roof. I think what we were able to address, maybe Bill Hagan can speak to it in a little bit more detail, but I think what we were able to do was to put something down to help in the interim until we can potentially replace the segment.
Yeah, excuse me. The one roof that we did do some repairs to was a flat roof, and it was something that we were able to accomplish in-house. We were able to rip up some of the old sheathing, put some new geotextile down, and coat that. Mary was receiving some damage inside the building, so we needed to address that ASAP. There were really no funds in the budget in order to address things, so we did get that done in-house. We did have a roof consultant come out, and there is some issues with loose tiles, probably just the age of the roof, how they were attached to the roof, wind, everything else, weather has affected how they were attached to the roof. There's probably his quote was that a lot of the adhesives, a lot of the nails had rusted through over time, and the tiles were starting to get loose. He said once those tiles start to get loose, it will continuously grow. There was also gutter issues over there. As Mary knows, we've been over there quite a bit to try and tighten up the gutters and keep the water going away from the building. So,
Thanks, Bill.
Well, Mary, thank you for all you've done, all you do, all you continue to do, especially in some, an uncertain area of time for the Willows. As Tammy has indicated, she has had some follow-up conversations with Open Air, and I think we should try and encourage and entice other organizations to come in and offer some ideas and thoughts of, what they might look to do or potentially do, and try and see if we can continue to make the Willows the facility that it is represented within the township community. Any other thoughts on the Willows from anyone?
I do, or a question, actually. Tammy, in the discussions with Open Air, is it to select an organization such as theirs or someone else's, would we envision it being an exclusive arrangement with a company such as that, or could it be with Open Air and then with some of these other entities like Mainline School Night or the Conservancy who might also be willing to participate? Does it need to be an all or nothing, or are there various options that you've thought about and have discussed with your group?
It does not have to be all or nothing. If our department was to engage Open Air Affairs, there would be the expectation that there is still a level of involvement by the township and by the department. I mean, we would still be responsible for a lot of the utility costs and a lot of the costs regarding other avenues of events that we would like to offer in there. Open Air Affairs can handle a lot of the social events and a lot of the wedding engagement events. So if our department was still interested in offering other levels of programming or engaging the craft fairs or other auctions and things like we've had in there, there would still be a level of involvement by our department. It's not impossible to think that some of the other organizations in the township who are looking at the Willows would want to involve themselves with Open Air Affairs or have a potential to involve themselves with them, or any other outside groups like Open Air Affairs or catering groups that are also, interested in enhancing the operations of the Willows. So I can certainly work to, bridge those gaps as I'm having conversations with those folks. So I think that's certainly a possibility.
Because it would certainly be ideal, rather than allowing the Willows to close and to be a shuttered facility, to have an organization such as Open Air be focusing on higher-end revenue-generating activities like weddings, and then still allowing it to be a facility used by the school district, by nonprofits in the area, and smaller organizations for auctions and other activities.
Or even potentially by our department too, because I know that, we would like to continue to be able to use it for some programs and some camps. The site, as well as the mansion itself, has offered some really good opportunities, I think, to enhance our programming throughout the last 5 years that we've been utilizing the facility. So we would look to try and want to continue that with one group that may engage the Willows, or with, the myriad of groups that may go in together to work, on the operation of the Willows.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further on the Willows?
I would just like to thank the board and Tammy and Leah and Bill Hagan for all your support throughout the year and for everything that you do for the Willows. It really has been great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Guess the next item on new business is the Radnor Activity Center at Sulpizio Gym, the discussion on the building inspection report. Tammy, do you want to just briefly kind of bring us up on that?
Sure. Back in early November, there was an inspection that took place at the Radnor Activity Center at Sulpizio Gymnasium facility. Bill Miller and Ray Daly are here to actually speak in a little bit more detail about the exact nature of the information that was found when they performed their walkthrough and their inspection. So I actually am going to turn it over to them to speak about that in a little bit more detail. I think there were, a number of items that were discovered that, we want to try and take a look at tonight here and sort of actualize a plan moving forward.
all of the board members, I believe you have a copy of that actual report in front of you.
Bill, Ray, you guys want to maybe give us maybe a summary of some of the findings that you had when you went through and did your inspection?
We went through and did a code inspection of the Spezio gym and came up with a number of property maintenance code violations that you have in the list in front of you. For me to run through the list, the 3-page list is probably going to be a little tough. I'm going to
Okay, that's fine.
Do you have a specific item or 2 items? Also, too, and I assume do you have a copy of the email from Bill Hagan today or
No.
yesterday for repairs?
I don't believe we have that.
I had the opportunity to look over the report, and most of the items are fairly minor. My first question was, how frequently is the inspection performed?
The inspection should happen once a year.
So would there be a comparable report to this from a year ago?
No, there has been no inspections prior to this date.
Is
I'm
that-
sorry, I thought you
No,
said
you-
that the inspection should be done annually.
Should have been done annually, yes, but there have been none done.
Does that also mean that there was not an inspection done when, I guess, ownership or when the lease was executed at the time when, I guess, the township entered in?
When the rack was taken over, I actually wasn't the director then, but just going through, we did a walkthrough the other day, and, I mean, there were some things that obviously should have been tightened up when the contractors were in there. Obviously, there should have been inspections going on as they were doing mechanical work, running new wires, piping. You've got some just the wall penetrations, for example, where they ran pipes through or wires. You know, one of the code violations there was any wall penetration should have been sealed up. Had there been inspection going on as that was being put together and converted into the rack, those things would have been picked up.
So when the middle school was torn down and the rack was, in essence, self-sustaining, and we had to put in AC, heat, water, and so forth, obviously permits needed to be generated, and I would have assumed inspections should have been done on the work that, as it was being completed.
And I agree with you 100%. Like you said, I wasn't involved in refurbishing the rack into the Spezio gym into the Radnor Activity Center. Tom Blumstrom was in charge then. There's some things that obviously should have been addressed from Jump Street. I mean, there's some roofing issues up there. The stairwell from the old tunnel that
Right.
used to go over to the middle school itself. Electrical, there's numerous electrical violations, and when you have it open as a public facility, bringing it up to code, simple things like exit lights and emergency lighting, all those things should have been addressed as the building was being put together for public use. Because it was shuttered, for 2 or 3, I'm not even sure how long it was shuttered when it wasn't being used, but
Right.
I'm not even sure that the heat worked in there at the time to keep it, to keep the climate. I'm not sure that there was climate control or any of those things addressed when it was shuttered as the new middle school was being built.
Bill, most of the items are relatively minor. Things such as the fire extinguishers need annual testing and certification. Peeling paint on the ceiling needs to be scraped and repainted. The exterior emergency light is hanging by its wires. Overwhelmingly, I think there are minor items that would fall under the auspices of routine maintenance. The major item here seems to be the roof. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I actually, I had roof systems consultants come in to take a look at the roof. They're the firm that I hired to work on the library roof project, which is finally coming to fruition. When they actually did a thermal study on the roof to see where the insulation was wet, and there's numerous penetrations that are through the roof. The whole north side parapet wall, running that whole length of the building, the insulation is saturated, which means there's numerous holes in the roof. After talking to Wayne from Roof Systems Consultants, the recommendation is to replace the roof. Unfortunately, I was up there the other day and I wheeled the roof, and do you have the number? I think it was 9,540 square feet.
9,540 square feet.
And you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 to $14 a square foot for replacement. So that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000 to redo that roof. I mean, that's a big expenditure. Some of the other things, the water line, because it was shuttered so long, my guess is when I took the plumber up there, because we have a lot of debris that's in the water, we actually had the water being tested. And I believe the water line needs to be replaced from the meter pit to the building. It was renewed inside the building, but it was never addressed from the meter pit to the building itself. So that's actually a costly venture too. You have the firehouse has their all their electric out on the same side where the water line is running. It's a 4-inch water line that comes into the building. So a lot of that is handwork to get that upgraded. And you're probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to do that. So there is some major things that need to be done up there. Do they all have to be done overnight? I don't think so. But a plan needs to be put in place as far as capital improvements go for the facility. Like I said, the stairwell that went to the old tunnel that actually went to, we're actually getting a lot of water seepage in there. And talking with Ray and the building inspectors, we did a walkthrough the other day for a couple hours. You know, I mean, you need to put a sump pump pit in there. You need to have a dehumidifier in that area. You're not going to solve the water's coming up through the ground. So you need to put a sump pump in there so that anytime water's entering the building, it gets pumped out to one of the outside outlets. Also have dehumidifier. Ideal would be to have the dehumidifier hose go right into the sump pump so that it wasn't a manual operation as far as emptying the sump pump. It would discharge into the sump pump pit. Once it filled, it would move out. And the dehumidifier would definitely help some of the mold and issues that are in that stairwell itself. I think anybody that's been in the building and opened those doors would understands what I'm talking about on that. Some of the electrical repairs, I had my electrician go up there, and we just made a list of different things throughout the building, whether it would be the first floor, second floor, locker rooms, and if everything was to be put together the way it should be for codes, I mean, there's a lot of exit lights that need to be installed, a lot of emergency lighting needs to be upgraded. Some of the fixtures in there need to be updated as far as the plumbing fixtures, whether it be urinals, toilets, what have you. So there is a list of stuff that needs to be done. I think it's a matter of charting it, getting it on a capital project program, and sticking to that program in order to keep the facility moving forward the way it should.
I understand that a considerable amount went into that gym during the renovation. I don't know if it's in excess of $400K, but it was a considerable sum, as I remember.
Majority of the funds that were spent on the facility were strictly to run the electric and
HVAC.
I mean, because when they took the middle school down, it became a self-sustaining building. So everything that was done was mechanically to make it self-operating. So nothing, I don't
The
believe.
building prior, the building did not have its own mechanical systems. It fed off of the middle school, the old middle school, through, underground. That it got its electric, its water, its HVAC. It all fed off the middle school, like an umbilical cord underground there. When the old middle school got torn down, that shell of the building it had to have all the HVAC, all building systems, all mechanical systems put in, which was the big project that the township undertook to bring it up to where it's an activity center. The comment I've got is that, it's a tremendous community asset, and I think we're only going to, as the years go and the community realizes it's there and it's a township asset and a community asset, it's only going to get more and more use. I think that the wise thing to do is to, be penny wise, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. Be smart in the long term and maintain what's a tremendous asset.
I agree with you 100%.
I mean, that thing is worth it. Other communities would kill to have that kind of a structure, and for $100,000 and some thousand, I'm sure you can negotiate. People need work out there in the trades, get the prices down to where it's real competitive and reasonable. And I mean, other communities would kill for an asset like that.
And I agree with you 100%. I think what needs to be done, though, is there needs to be a charted course as far as the capital budget goes to commit monies to improve the facility. A lot of that has to do with the manager, the board, and what have you. I mean, as far as approving capital budgets. We can recommend what we see that needs to be addressed, and we will continue to do that. Where it goes from there lies in the hands of the board and the township manager.
Bill, can some of that work be done in such a way, whether it's plumbing or electrical or roofing, so that we would limit some of the park and rec and basketball programs in there and allow some of that activity to be going on concurrently? Or do you see us needing to scale back considerably on the utilization?
No, I think Tammy has worked with Bob and talked to Bob about that. I think one of the things that needs to be addressed, and one thing we're looking at right now, is having the water tested to see if we can't get a filter system in there, something where it's still usable. Even if we cordoned off parts of the building until the monies were available to address the items that need attention. The bathrooms on the first floor, obviously, if you're going to go in there and you're going to spend money and upgrade facilities, they're the areas you want to hit first. Everything that's being used on the first floor. Do you close off the second floor? You make sure that it has what it needs up there, that the water gets up. All the water lines. I mean, from the other day we went up there, all the water lines are working. The problem we're having right now is with the clarity of the water. So we are having that tested to make sure that the water is where it needs to be for public usage. But certainly, it can be done in stages. Like I said, I would concentrate on getting the first floor done. I would concentrate on, putting funds in the capital budget for the roof replacement. I mean, it's a project it's a big project, but with today's market, I mean, the competitive bids that are out there, I mean, the library itself, I just bid that project, and we had bids that went from $93,000 to $177,000. So there are people out there that are looking for work. The company that got the library roof is highly recommended from a lot of the places that I called that they did work for. So it is a competitive market out there. And I believe in the memo that I sent to Ray and to Tammy, I mean, these are basically estimates, and they were put together using the knowledge of professionals that I know. So I didn't want to, what they said to me are the numbers that I put down there. I also said in the memo that, these could go anywhere. I mean, it may be on here as $125,000 to repair the roof. If somebody needs the work, right, or if somebody's hungry and they're a good contractor, I mean, the competitive bid process is going to bring them to the top. Is low bid always your best bid? Absolutely not. But, you just have to do your due diligence and do your homework on the contractors that are bidding your projects.
Is there a way to take your report and prioritize some of the things that maybe need to be addressed sooner than others?
Yeah,
obviously we need to put together.
And I think that's with the report and the walkthrough that we did. I mean, obviously, when the township purchased the building, when you bought your house, the first thing that you made sure was tight was the roof. So I think the roof is a priority. If the money can get into the capital budget in the upcoming budgets, that's a place to start. Once the roof is tightened up, you solve a lot of problems. When we were walking through some of the stairwells, even there's actually 5 different roofs on there. You have the back roof, then you have 2 pet roofs that are beside the actual arched roof that's on the top. So there's different areas that could be addressed first. I mean, could you do the main roof first? We don't have any leaks in the front. There is some damp areas, some bubbling paint. Usually when you have bubbling paint, it's a sign that moisture is getting in the building, whether it's through a roof drain or what have you. Some of the back stairwells did have actual water stains in them. So there's certain areas that can be addressed in different stages. I think you get a better price if you bid the whole roof, though, at one time. I mean, personal opinion.
Is there anything you need from us to, I mean, as far as where to go from here? I mean, I guess my thought would be, do we potentially take a look at some of the recommendations that Bill and Ray are making, potentially get them prioritized? And I think we need to take a look at seeing what we can do as far as trying to come up with a.
Fenton?
Yes.
Excuse me. What I would like you folks to do is put together the case for maintaining the building at all, not just giving it back to the school district. We have to make that case.
Well, it wasn't our decision to purchase the building.
No, we leased the building.
We leased the building from the
The
township?
township has a
school district.
30-year lease.
Right.
So are you suggesting you would breach that lease?
I'm suggesting we need to figure out what to do because we don't have the money to do those
I'm asking a
repairs.
question that you haven't answered. Are you suggesting the township would breach the 30-year lease that was signed?
I'm sure that if we could get a clever enough lawyer, that's if you work outside, Steve, that we could demonstrate that it was not a good faith lease given the conditions in the building.
It's for, I think, $1 a year.
Yeah, okay.
I don't
And we
think
already
there's
put
any
how much
actual
in it.
monetary exchange, and I think that when the township did it, there's an
Nevertheless,
understanding
Steve,
the
we
township was
need,
going to.
what I'm saying is the Board of Commissioners needs to understand what that facility provides to the community, and this is the group that's got to convince us.
Well, I think from the Park and Rec point of view, it's a tremendous asset that we don't have a community center in Radnor Township. We don't have something, we don't have a community center the way other communities do.
I might add that you're preaching to the chorus.
Choir, the preaching to the choir.
Depends on what denomination.
But so I think that if that's if you're saying that you need help making that case to your colleagues, let us know that.
That's exactly what I said.
I also think that Tammy made a presentation regarding the programs and the revenues and the expenses that are being generated from there, and then it was positive venture and a well-used facility within the township.
Yeah, I just think we can't just look at everything from a monetary point of view. You've got to look at a quality of life point of view. It's not all about dollars and cents, and you have to look long-term. The recession isn't going to last forever. At some point, people are going to wake up and say, have we cut off our nose to spite our face? Have we thrown out the baby with the bathwater? What other cliches can I come up
Yeah,
with?
come on,
Got a
there's
lot
got to
of
be
them.
more. Steve, the issue, as you are going through your budget items, it's the same thing, right? We have to put together the solid case. No, it's not all dollars and cents, but I'm looking to the Parks and Rec Board to make that strong case that you were just talking about. And we've had that same issue about the fee structure for field usage. That, it would be an outrageous expense if the programs had to carry all the field maintenance. So again, we need this group. That's what Parks and Rec is here for. They're here to look at those things and to give the commissioners the evidence and the support needed to make those appropriate decisions.
But John, the way that's phrased is difficult. When Commissioner Fisher commented that the kids' utilization of the fields should handle the majority of the costs associated with the maintenance of that field, that's really a statement that neglects a lot of the utilization of the open space and the fields by all the members of the township, who in fact are the people that bought all those fields and who each year with their property taxes and their school taxes, as you know, pay for those fields. So that sort of requirement to say that we need to substantiate that the athletic programs that operate on those fields should cover the expense of those fields, I think is narrow in its scope. I don't
Yeah,
know
and
if
Mike,
my
I
perspective
noticed-
It's incredibly narrow and
different.
very
Well,
short-sighted.
Wait a minute.
what you guys
Before we get
feel.
speechifying.
Go ahead.
fees did not go up for field usage, right? In fact, we dropped the $10 fee. So the point being, though, is you're the group that has to sell Solpezio Gym and the Radnor Athletic Center,
Well, I think,
Activity Center. You have to be the ones that come to us,
John,
discuss the same things we have here.
John, in my opinion, we've already sold that concept by you approving a $500,000 expenditure to make it a self-sustaining building. Now, we can sit here and say it wasn't inspected or somebody neglected or this, that, and you know what? That doesn't change where we are. I think what we should be trying to do is come up with solutions to fix the problem, not whether we should cut our losses. I mean, I think everybody up on this panel, and I think there's a lot of people in this community, feel that this is a viable, wonderful facility for this township.
It's a multi-million-dollar asset. To recreate that thing would cost you millions of dollars. We're talking about...
Which we don't have.
A fraction of that, of $100,000 to put a roof onto something, that to replace it would cost you millions of dollars to replicate that facility.
I mean, this is a report that we got given to us this evening. I mean, we haven't even...
And I'm not looking for an answer.
We haven't looked into...
And it sounds like the ball was dropped by the township folks, not these guys, not these wonderful gentlemen, but for whomever was acting on behalf of the township and managing the project to make that a self-sustaining building as opposed to...
And again, Steve, we're not looking to blame. We're looking for solutions.
And that's what I'm saying. Well, the solution
But
is
part of the
to not
solution-
throw the baby, I mean, it is a cliche. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
And I'm not, did I say that? What I'm saying is, I need you, as Parks and Rec, to provide the information and the support to the commissioners to make the case that it is an important community asset, and therefore, we shouldn't do away with it, and we should fix it, and we should have a plan. That's all.
I think
And if
look
you
to how
disagree
many-
with-
how many
with
hundreds
our-
of kids that are using that, how many hundreds of kids are in there, and look big picture as to what the uses of it is, John. I think there's a thought process among some of your colleagues that would suggest we should put tolls on Lancaster Avenue.
Well, I was
And
asking, I don't have to run the
I
toll
don't-
booth
and I
for
know
the
that
trail.
I know that I'm talking to the choir, put tolls on the Radnor Trail. I don't accept that. I mean, the recession isn't going to last forever. I mean, it's things are going to, we've got to think about what's quality of life, why people move to Radnor and live in Radnor in the first place.
My question is, if we put together what you're looking for and the board doesn't agree with it, then what's the next step? You shutter it? You get rid of it, you give it back to the school district and say, I'll take my buck back?
Yeah, we have to, that's what we'll have to discuss. That's all part of the discussion. We don't have that conclusion yet because we haven't had the discussion yet.
Well, I would move that the Park and Rec Board draw up a utilization analysis with a project that focuses on the items here in Mr. Miller's email or memo, and I suspect that we can pretty readily define a staged project of plumbing, electrical, and roof work over a period of years that could sustain the facility going forward, and then present that to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, comment from the staff? Gentlemen, if I can remind you, I heard something that I totally agree with, to go ahead and get something in place for the spending of funds. But I must remind you that these are code violations. They cannot and will not be allowed to go 3 to 5 years to be repaired. That building isn't made safe and brought up to code, then technically it should not be open.
And what's the time frame on that? When you say brought up to code, how much time do we have? 6 months?
We normally allow businesses 30 days to comply with some of these violations. A normal business.
Would the roof issue, would that be considered not up to code at this point, or is it more the electrical with things
It's
hanging out of the
electrical
wall?
and
and that?
plumbing and water. We're allowing groups to go in there every night and drink from those fountains and drink that water, take showers in that water. We have toilets, things that aren't working, that aren't being used. We have open sewer lines or facilities that are not used that have dry traps. So we have sewer gas going into that building. Those issues
no emergency lights, no exit lights. Normal businesses in Radnor Township will be given less than 30 days to repair these items.
Perhaps that's why businesses in Radnor Township keep their facilities up to code.
Exactly.
We have some public participation.
I just wanted to comment on some of the dialogue with John Nagel. I think we have some members of the Board of Commissioners that have a certain set of priorities or certain viewpoints that a lot of us don't agree with. And I think, to pull over John's point, it's really, we have to remind the public and the Board of Commissioners as to why we're doing this and why the decisions were made in the past. And it's just more reminding them that it is a great asset, that it is heavily used, and that from the viewpoints of some of the other commissioners and people from the public, that it is a highly valued, and that it's worthy of maintaining and fixing the code violations and continuing to utilize the building. So I think it's a sort of a natural, you have new people coming in and people that their priorities are different are going to pick on different things. So I think John's just, at least my interpretation of John's comments are, just got to remind them. And this is the board that sort of knows a lot about it and needs to issue some kind of a report, at least a report that has some information in it as to why we want to keep this facility going. Next.
Thank you. Anyone else have any public participation?
This is not why I'm here tonight, but my name is Bruce Gilbert. I live at 142 West Wayne. Two comments. I don't think any safety or code violations are minimal. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with that. Second of all, historically, I was on the school board early 90s, way back. And I think I was the rep to the Park and Rec Board. What? Is that one?
That's the first time I met you.
That's okay. And my memory is very fuzzy. But one item here on the old tunnel area where it says there was 2 inches of water, and it says this problem needs investigation and research. My recollection was that there were pumps going 24 hours a day. So I think that's one issue that needs to be looked at. I don't think it's been corrected by the new
By the new field and the new middle school?
Your recollection's correct. The pumps were in the basement of the old middle school, so those pumps are gone.
Right, okay.
And then with the township project, underneath the new middle school field
Right.
is a stormwater holding area, but that does not correct the fact that if one goes back and looks at old maps from even, from the late 1800s, there was an open stream that ran through what is the middle school, what is that campus there. So there's an underground stream there that's in a culvert. It's still there. And the water table's still very high. And so without pumps or without a sump pump system, without some type of drainage system, you're going to get water in that building in the basement.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie Richmond, 168 Meredith Avenue, and I just wanted to reiterate that the value of the gym is huge for our community, for our young kids. Unfortunately, space is so limited where we have opportunities to offer programs to our children that this is an asset that if we were to lose, we can't make it up anyplace else. I mean, so there's a dollar value, and then there's an opportunity lost as a result of what our children won't have in years to come. We can't make it up anyplace else as far as I know. So it is, from my perspective, of vital importance.
Thank you.
You're preaching to the chorus and the choir on that one.
Would encourage you to pay attention to what's going on with the commissioners and maybe come to a commissioners meeting, maybe talk to Mr. Nagel about when it would be an appropriate time to come and make that kind of a statement to the commissioners. That's what Mr. Nagel's kind of asking us to kind of do, is pay attention to what's going on in that board and let them know that we're all out there and that we're counting on these facilities in the long term.
Tammy, anything from you?
I just want to echo the sentiments of everybody else in terms of the value of the facility. I think with our department, the current staffing scenario that we've had to basically operate that facility has been significantly minimal. We've had a lot of volunteers, a lot of members of the community who have helped us, make that facility very successful. The facility doesn't currently have an operating plan, but 86% of the days of the year, out of a year, it's being used, and it can be even better utilized. With obviously more staff, but obviously with a plan, and we know that there is a need within the community for it. So we want to work to try and do what we can, in my opinion, and I believe in my department's opinion, to save it, because right now we don't have an alternative plan, and this is what we have, and I think we want to take it on and make it much better than what it has been, because it certainly has a lot of potential.
Okay. Bill, is there a timeline of when you're going to get some recommendations or testing back regarding the water?
I actually have had the water tested. I received some paperwork in the mail today that I have to have interpreted. There's not really like a clear description of what the quality is and what the information is. I need to contact the company and understand the details more, and then begin to take it from there, I guess, in terms of how we'll look to potentially filtrate the water that's going through the facility, because turning it off is not an option.
Right. How about a list of prioritizing the violations? Can we get a list of that?
Certainly, I can sit down with Ray and Bill, and we can go through that list again and prioritize and put some kind of sequential order in which things should be addressed, what needs to be addressed yesterday, what needs to be addressed tomorrow, today,
Right.
and what have you. So we certainly can put that together.
Obviously, we want to see what we can do to try and prevent from having to close the facility down. I guess my thought would be taking the indoor facility committee?
Yes.
And potentially trying to, is that updated as far as the members that are on it? And do we want to potentially add to with, number one, our new member that I think we're going to potentially get next week, and then anybody else that might be interested in getting together on that committee, taking a look at some of the reports that we're going to get back from Bill and his folks, and try and get together and see what we can come up with, and potentially reach out to the community for donations, for fundraising. I think the sentiment within the township is that this facility is something that we made a decision to keep, and I think we made this investment to make it self-sustaining, and I think it's something that the community would rally behind and try and make sure that we can try and maintain the facility within the township. And I think the support, and I think the direction, I think, is that's what we want to try and do. So.
What type of utilization data do you need from me, or any data in the meantime that my department can work on?
I think the presentation that you had prior to, potentially take it through year end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be certainly a good start, and potentially look at what we've got booked and planned for the upcoming season. I think we can at least start there. Anybody, any other thoughts from anyone?
I have a question for the gentleman from the township. Is there an obligation, if these code violations are not corrected within 30 days, to shutter the facility?
Boy, that's certainly a management decision that I can't make. I could suggest to the township manager that I write the township a citation I'd look a little foolish going to district court to try to work that out, though.
How much is the citation now?
No.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yes, we're in a very delicate position
Yes,
here.
we understand that.
We're kind of in this to advise that the potential for someone using that facility, a birthday group, someone playing basketball, whatever, that goes in, gets sick, gets ill, has an accident with the fixture or an emergency exit not coming on, should there be issues, we've kind of gone public with the bad stuff. It's up to management to decide how and what and when they want to fix it.
What was the catalyst if there hasn't been an inspection of the facility for quite some time to do one now?
The directive came from the new township manager that he wanted all township buildings inspected and inspected fully because there was never an evaluation done. And I think your group has seen the Willows inspection report, I assume? No?
No, we haven't.
That's going to be more bad news.
Kreuzberg.
The Spezio Gym, the Kreuzberg
Kreuzberg.
Center, and some of the other township facilities got very poor marks.
Well, it's a shame that these facilities weren't better maintained and inspected more frequently during the time when the township was in better financial condition.
I've been working for the township approximately 5.5 years now, and I guess I can agree. It just wasn't practiced before.
And this is the first time that you guys ever did any inspections on any of these facilities?
Yeah, that's correct. I've been with the township 10 years, going on 11, 12 years now, and it's the first time I've been through any of these facilities to do an inspection. And Mr. Zinkowski took the position that we should inspect all of the township facilities and that we should be tougher on our own self than we are on anyone else. So that's why Ray and I have been very, very careful as far as how we're doing the inspections and what we're writing down.
All right. Anything further on Sulpizio?
Nope.
Okay. Why don't we go to committee reports? Anything on Shade Tree?
Thank you.
How about school board, Steve?
School board report, specific to Parks and Rec, I'm pleased to report that notwithstanding the challenges of the winter weather, that Radnor Rec basketball program and the Radnor Soccer Club's winter indoor programs are thriving in their use and enjoyment of school district gyms and facilities at no actual cost pursuant to the letter and spirit of the ground sharing agreement. And just wanted to actually express kudos to all those involved, and at the risk of naming names, but because a couple of them are here, Bob Mikolas, Tammy Cohen, and the Township and School District folks involved in facilities, including Bill Hagan, who just stepped out, Leo Burnaby on behalf of the school district, have done a phenomenal job keeping these programs going this winter. And there's been tremendous usage of school district gyms, and don't want to leave out Lee McVeigh, who does a great job on scheduling. Sorry, Lee. Didn't see you over there. That's what happens when you start naming names and you forget somebody. And doing a terrific job. So there's been a lot of use on behalf of the Parks and Rec of different programs, especially basketball, of school district facilities. More general note, school district is at the early stages of our budget season. School district goes does not go on a calendar year budget, but a fiscal year budget, July 1, June 30. So we're in the early stages of that, and we've got some tough decisions that we've got to make on the school district side of the house. A couple announcements, though, related to this. Radnor Educational Foundation's holding its annual casino night fundraiser actually tomorrow night at the Radnor Hotel. It's a great evening and an even better cause. It's all about the kids, and that's a great opportunity to give back. Somewhat related to Parks and Rec, on the school district radar is looking at some of the school district's real estate holdings beyond the 5 school campuses, such properties as North Wayne Field, Martha Brown's Woods, and the Tennell property, and at some point it might be appropriate to begin some discussion along, with the township as the school district looks at those real estate holdings. So I think that's it for the school board for this month.
You looking to buy an extra gym?
Okay.
The sad thing is that we actually need another one in addition to Sulpizio.
Right.
We don't have enough fields and gym space.
That's exactly
We do
right.
not.
Okay, any committee reports? Any updates from the commissioners? John?
I think Tammy mentioned earlier that the presentation at our last meeting regarding Agnes Irwin and Memorial Field, we directed our solicitor to work with the representatives from Agnes Irwin to come up with a proposed lease agreement. However, probably sometime in the next couple weeks, I'm going to hold the Parks and Rec Committee of the Board of Commissioners meeting. And the purpose will be to discuss whether the township should enter into that agreement, whether what's the needs and benefits, and because there are folks out there that do not believe we should be leasing public land that way. So
Kind of like
we all
buildings.
think it's a win-win, but we need to fully vet that. And I believe Elaine sent you an email, Finn?
Excuse me? Yes, she did. She did. She sent it about 4 o'clock this evening.
Well, essentially, what she's asking is that would you folks be present at that kind of meeting, because we really never discussed in any of these things that what is the need for another turf field.
Well,
So, and we're not going to do it tonight, but we want to hear that, because that's all part of the equation. What's proposed is a turf field that's lighted, that the township will be able to use, except for the periods of time when AI is using it. It seems like a great opportunity for us, but do we really have a need for that?
I would say that would be similar to the township using the school district turf fields when they're
It's
not
the
using
school
them.
district turf field.
I know that, but
Right.
using their turf fields when they're not using them.
Right.
Especially given a field that's in disrepair and.
Yeah, the field's never been
Yes,
good.
exactly. So, yeah, there is a need, and our other fields are suffering because of it, so.
Right, and that's some of the things I want to bring out
That's fine.
during the public meeting, so folks understand that kind of
Right.
thing.
With arguably our best partnership of institutions within the township.
Oh, we should get our school district to be as generous as the Agnes Irwin is.
I better stop right there. Anything further from the commissioners?
Motion
That's
to
enough.
adjourn.
Any old business? Any other public participation? Yes, sir.
I said before, I'm Bruce Gilbert, 142 West Wayne. I want to preface my remarks by saying I am not a lawyer. I want to talk about the Radnor Trail for just a minute.
Sure.
I am curious as to why the township doesn't plow and salt the Radnor Trail. I asked this question some time ago of Tom Blomquist, and I was told that it was a legal liability issue. It seems counterintuitive to me that there is a legal issue created by not clearing the trail. I would think just the opposite. We clear the roads, the public sidewalks around the library. Property owners are required to clear their sidewalks. Why not the trail? I find it interesting that we plow the parking lot for the trail on Conestoga Road, and it's almost as if it's an invitation to go up on the trail, but we don't plow the trail. We all know how icy and dangerous the trail becomes a few days after a snow. It just can't be used. It forces runners like myself and others to go to the roads, which is not the safest place to run, even on the quiet streets. I know of walkers who just don't go. I haven't seen anybody on the trail for weeks. Besides the safety issues, I just think it's a shame that such a wonderful facility as the trail has to lie dormant when we have snow. What a loss. Can't we get another legal opinion? Can we reconsider this?
Well,
That's all.
okay.
I had that question in the past as well, and I think part of it, and I may be wrong, but it has to do with the materials of the trail, and putting a plow through there may possibly damage the trail. That was one of the issues, I know. So that was one of the answers that I received a couple of years ago.
I guess, do we do anything with, say, the walking sidewalks or whatnot within any of the parks?
We do not.
Yeah, I just think that from a staffing, from an expense, from legally, that I'm not sure, but I just think that, unfortunately, the last few winters have been a little bit more severe than they have been in years past, and I just think that, that's just an undertaking that the township has decided not to do. And, other than that, I don't have an answer for you.
Right. No, I knew there wouldn't be an answer. I wondered if it could be reconsidered.
I'm sure it could be, but
We could certainly reconsider it, but to echo Jim's statement, yeah, I think that there's some concerns about plowing it or salting it in terms of the long-term damage, and then to understand that we don't really have a capital budget presently. It's obviously going to break the trail down in a shorter period of time, and then it could potentially have to be replaced, obviously, in a shorter amount of time. And also, to the staffing comment, in case you didn't know, Bill Hagan, our Public Works Director, actually just recently resigned, so I think he's in his last week next week, which is very unfortunate. I think that's going to send a significant rippling effect through Public Works in terms of staffing. So, and I think I heard someone had said earlier today that we lost 20 Public Works people in the last 3 years, I believe, and they have not been replaced. So obviously, there is a significant staffing implication. But I don't understand why the parking lot's being plowed. That would be something I would look into.
Well, maybe there's a saving there. Maybe I brought up a saving for you.
well, thank you.
I made a note of that, Bruce.
Any other public participation?
I have one question, Ben.
Yes.
Just on that topic. Do you know, are any other trails, Federal, Valley Forge, State, Ridley Creek, Township, Lower Perk, anybody plowing their trails?
I don't know. The one from Conshohocken down to the city or whatever and back out to Valley Forge, what about that? I don't know. We should take a look at
I'm
it.
just,
Be curious.
Township, anybody?
We could look into that and see what they're doing, certainly.
As far as plowing and hurting the surface, I mean, we plow roads, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have is a railroad bed with a very good base on it, and you have a macadam strip down the middle. If you have to put the skids up a little bit, just so so you don't hit it, well, do it. As I see the problem, as soon as it snows, as soon as somebody walks on it, as soon as the sun comes out, it becomes ice, and you just can't walk on it. But if even if you got most of it off, it would be even better.
Well, it's also important to note that if folks are running along the roadways, to always wear something that's reflective, especially, so that they're noticeable. And I know now with the large mounds of snow being plowed up, it's been hard to see runners and walkers, and there have been more of them out on the roads. So we do want to remind them to always use something that's reflective so we can notice them. Thank you.
All right, anything further from the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We are adjourned.